Seriously?
Hey guys, and welcome to this showcase video with myself, 6+ Stevo. In this one I will be showcasing my recently painted Ufthak Blackhawk miniature, the awesome new Bad Moons character. I say new, he's not really new, is he? He's been out quite a good while now, but he's new to me, and I literally just finished painting him yesterday and I wanted to showcase him to you guys. So yeah, it was been quite a while since we've had a named Bad Moon character, hasn't it? If my memory, I think it was back in like 3rd edition was the last time we had like an official named character for use in game. That being of course Nazdreg. And ever since then we've had nothing. We were all waiting for Nazdreg and hoping for Nazdreg, and I still wait and I still hope eventually we will have him. But GW graced us with this new named character, Ufthak Blackhawk. A name I'm not a huge fan of. Ufthak, not bad, I don't mind that name. The Blackhawk bit, yeah, I'm a bit meh. It's not, it doesn't sound like an orky name to me. It sounds a bit oomy. But you know what, there it is. There's a reason for the name, of course, lore reasons and stuff, and there's a lot of lore reasons as to why this miniature is the way it is. He was, of course, a character in the incredibly successful Brutal Cunning book from Black Library, which has been very, very popular. I must confess, I am still yet to listen to it. I have downloaded it. I do intend to give it a good listen, and I'm looking forward to listening to it. I've just been listening to some other books and things. I haven't got round to it yet, but I will do. And he was in the book's sequel, The Big Daka. And that is actually when this miniature got released. He got released as a special edition miniature, a special limited made-to-order edition miniature, which is kind of the first negative. It was basically alongside the Big Daka, they did this special release of this miniature for a limited time, made to order. So that's always, it's got a bit of that FOMO stuff to it, which is a bit annoying, because it would have been nice if they just released him as a miniature to buy whenever you want, but they didn't. Good news is he is still available currently. He's been available as made to order for quite a while now. I haven't seen him on Games Workshop's website, but he is on a lot of the third-party websites, and I'm still seeing him on eBay. He seems to go for between sort of 22 to 30 quid. So kind of in the average ballpark of a character for Games Workshop these days. So quite expensive. He was also in a third story as well, where there's the warp, there's the way. This was a short story, and this is set, I believe, between Brutal Cunning and the Big Daka. So, or it might even be a prequel actually. I think it's possibly a prequel to both of them. But yeah, so he's in 3 fantastic stories that I look forward to listen to. But let's take a look at the miniature anyway. The miniature is awesome. He's got some really, really nice details on him. Of course, on the base, we've got his loyal, faithful squig Princess, who acts as both his attack squig and a useful mount for his awesome looking gun. Now this is the sort of gun any Bad Moon boss would be proud of. He is sporting his very own shock rifle. It's a fantastic looking weapon. It just looks really imposing. It looks really badass. And then in his other hand, he comes equipped with his snaz hammer, which again, a brutal looking sort of warhammer weapon, a literal warhammer, but in a very orky style. It looks absolutely brutal. It looks like a tenderizer, a meat tenderizer, which is just perfect for orcs. And he comes sporting a rather fetching cape, which is rather nice. As you can see on the cape, I have done a bit of freehand work there. I don't often do freehand stuff. I do some checks and that here, and I've done a little bit of flames in the past, but for this I wanted to do sort of some more stylized flames, not sort of realistic flames. I really like the Bad Moon aesthetic of like black flames on a yellow background. I think it's really striking. I think it's really cool. So I wanted to give it a go, but in a more stylized way. I actually got the technique for doing this off another orc YouTuber, The Red Ones Go Faster. Check out his channel. I'll post a link to the video I watched that actually inspired me for this, because it was a really cool video actually, where I believe he's painting a Datasheet. I think it's a Datasheet. It could be any one of the flyers, but he paints it with all these stylized flames up there, and I thought, wow, they look really, really cool. And he gives a really nice, really concise, easy to follow step-by-step tutorial on it. And obviously I was trying to repeat that on a much smaller scale, and when I started I was like, oh, it just looks like trees. And I kind of think it still does a little bit, but I persevered with it. Had to sort of neaten it up a little bit here and there, but persistence paid off, and overall I'm fairly happy with it. He's got a cool banner on the top as well, a nice Bad Moon logo there, so there's no doubt what clan he comes from. And he's got some nice little details. He's got his he's got his cock rag there, which I've painted red. He's got lots of teeth and stuff hanging from him. Perfect for a Bad Moon. Some more Bad Moon iconography on like the belt line, and then he's got a really cool like chain necklace thing around him with the severed head of a Dark Elder warrior. What's it? They're not called Dark Elder anymore, are they? Drukhari, but to me they're always Dark Elder. But yeah, that was cool. So that was good fun to paint. You know, it's like, oh, how do you paint a Dark Elder? Never painted them before. Well, I have, but long time ago. And then of course we've got his face and head, which I love the expression on his face. Really brutal, lovely grimace on him, and it's got some lovely sculpted details on this miniature. For doing the dry brushing on the skin, it just picked it up perfectly and really accentuated that sort of snarl on his face, which is absolutely fantastic. Now he does suffer from what a lot of the modern orcs suffer from, and that is pea head syndrome. They've got these tiny little pea heads, not like the old orcs of old, orcs that we've still got essentially, but yeah, GW seem to be going down this sort of smaller head route, which I personally not a fan of. I do prefer the bigger chunkier heads. I like that sort of older aesthetic a bit more. I do quite like the new aesthetic on the orcs as well. I think it does look a bit more realistic. It does look a little bit more savage and stuff, but there is a charm to the older sculpts, I feel. And so yeah, and I'm not a big fan of heads shrinking on orcs. However, I'm totally fine with it on this miniature, because there's a very good reason for that. If you can see around his neckline there, he's got like bolts and staples and things stitching it on, and that's because he's had a head transplant. And he was essentially, from what I know from the lore in the books, his head is, he's a boy essentially, and his head's cut off and it's sewn back on or stitched back on by a pain boy, but on the body of a knob. So when he wakes up from surgery and that, he is much more hench than he's ever been before, and of course this leads him on to conquest and domination and, you know, lots of good stuff. So yeah, that's cool, and I love the way that's represented on this miniature. It looks really, really cool, and just overall I think he's a really imposing miniature to lead your army, and he just looks absolutely fantastic. So paint wise, what did I do? Those of you that have watched the channel for a long time will be very familiar with my painting style and my paint scheme. It's pretty much, I've just repeated it. It's all the same paint colours and palette that I nearly always use. He's been painted with Army Painter range of paints. I do my yellows with a base coat of desert yellow, and then it gets a highlight after a soft tone wash, which the entire miniature gets. It gets highlighted with demonic yellow for that sort of final highlight on it, and it just it gives a nice sort of grimy yellow. I don't like my yellows looking too clean and too. I've always sort of not been a big fan of the very clean looking Bad Moons that people do sometimes. You know, it's a subjective. A lot of people might like it, but I prefer my orcs being a bit more grubby, a bit more battle worn and battered. And so yeah, that's how I get that yellow. The skin is done, he's got a base coat of green skin, and then after the soft tone wash he gets a highlight of Goblin Green. This is the Army Painter Goblin Green, which is very similar, almost exactly the same as the old GW Goblin Green. And then Princess down there gets painted with a base coat of, I can't remember the colour now. It's a dark purple, can't remember the colour of it now, the name of the paint, but it gets highlighted with Warlock purple, which as you can see is much more of a pink, but I quite like the pink squigs, so my whole tribe has all pink squigs, which I think are really, really cool. But yeah, there you go. So overall, I'm generally fairly pleased with the paint job. He took me a long time to do because I'm an incredibly slow painter, but I am quite proud of this miniature, and I think he's going to look fantastic with the rest of my army leading them. He's just going to fit the theme. Plonking him in with a squad of shooter boys or a squad of tooled up knobs, I think he's going to look absolutely awesome. But not just look awesome, he's going to play awesome as well, because he has some fantastic rules. Stat line wise, he is essentially a war boss. He's exactly the same stat line, and he's basically like a war boss with a power claw, but a little bit better in certain ways. He costs 70 points, which is 5 points more than your regular war boss. And he does have some drawbacks. He is an epic hero, so he can't have enhancements, which that kind of sucks. But he does have some rather cool special rules at the expense of not having the special rules that the regular war boss gets. Now the regular war boss gets he gets buffed up beautifully during the war, and he gets some nice buffs to the squad with him, making them much better in combat. I think it's +1 to hit. So overall the war boss is really, really, really good. Is Ufthak worth it for 5 points more? For the fun factor alone, I think yes. And if you've got a particular strategy in mind, I think yes. Because he's got the rather cool and unique, at least amongst orcs, special rule that he can deep strike. That's really, really useful. So yeah, being able to have a war boss with a squad of knobs or a squad of boys, being able to deep strike in, that's so tactically useful. That is going to be absolutely fantastic fun to use. And then he's got the extra special rule as well, where he is really, really good against Titanic units. If he comes up against Titanic units, he can re-roll his hit roll, and he can re-roll the wound roll. Fantastic, absolutely awesome. That rule is called Gargant Smasher. So yeah, absolutely awesome. Obviously only if you're up against Titanic units. If you're not, then that rule is going to be completely irrelevant. But cool, flavorful, fluffy rule to have nonetheless. In combat, he's pretty cool because he's got this snaz hammer, which, like I said, stat line wise, he's essentially a war boss with a power claw, because the stat line of the snaz hammer is exactly the same as a power claw, except it has devastating wounds. So power claw with devastating wounds, yes please. There's not much not to like there. Princess also acts as an attack squig, just like the regular war boss's attack squig does. And then of course he's got the shock rifle. This is really cool because your gun options for a war boss, yeah, you get the custom shooter, which is very meh. It's really not a good weapon. GW, please sort out custom shooters. Not custom shooters, combi shooters. But yeah, sort them out, GW, please. So this shock rifle, it comes with devastating wounds, it comes with hazardous, and it comes with precision. Beautiful precision weapon, is absolutely lovely. It's got a 24-inch range, only one attack, but it is hitting on a 4+, so you've got a 50-50 chance of hitting with this thing. It's strength 8, AP -2, which is very nice indeed. But the big good stat line on this is the damage. It's D6 +1, so you're looking at a minimum of 2 damage, a maximum of 7. So this has got the potential to put some serious hurt, and with that precision keyword and the deep strike ability, he's got the ability to teleport in, take a pot shot, 50-50 shot, to potentially take out a character in one shot. Now, I know what I'm like with my dice rolls. It ain't likely to work. But just once in a blue moon, playing this guy, it's going to happen once, isn't it? And when it does, it's going to be fantastic. So yeah, really cool. So do I think he's as good as a regular war boss and worth the 5 points extra? In competitive terms, I would say no, unless you've got something really specific in mind to do with him. But for the fun factor alone, I think yes. I think he's really good, and I can't wait to use him. He costs, like I said, 70 points, 5 points more than a regular war boss. But the other glaring big squig off in the room is the fact that he is a Legends unit. And this upset a lot of people in the community when they announced his release, and they released him, and they did release the rules free of charge on Warhammer Community. They're still there. I'll pop a link in the description if you want to go and download his rules, so you can download them and print them off and, you know, use him. Yeah, for me, I've got to say it's a non-issue. I don't really mind whether things are in the codex or whether they're Legends. It doesn't bother me because all the people I play are okay with Legends units, and I don't really play competitively, so, you know, and if I did, then fair enough, I won't use him and I'll use a regular war boss if, you know, that's not in the rules. But for friendly games with your friends or friendly games at the club, use him. Use Legends units, people. Use them. There's absolutely, like, too many people are self-imposing this rule that they can't use Legends. Just chat to your mates, chat to the people at the club. Say, look, would you mind if I use this unit? It's a Legends unit. I am sure 99% of players will be totally cool with it. And if they're not, then just find new people to play with, because you don't need that sort of negativity in your life. But yeah, there you go, people. There is my Ufthak Blackhawk. What do you think? Do you think I've done a good job with him? I'm quite pleased with him. I don't think he's perfect, but overall, I think I've done a fairly tidy paint job. He did take me a long time, I've got to say. But yeah, really pleased with him. I am looking forward to using him very soon. I've got a little tournament coming up, a friendly tournament, with a certain Idic beer for his annual tournament, and yeah, Ufthak will be part of my force for that tournament, as will another new unit I have just finished working on, which I will reveal to you very soon on the next showcase video. But for now, people, this is 6 Stevo signing out.